These are very privileged people with a lot of money.
Shonda is the kumbaya.
Nothing really makes you understand like that you are just a mammal.
Right.
I was in the middle of pursuing my nursing license when I first was diagnosed with lupus. I was in the middle of my clinicals.
You know, I recently had a project with, some different people and mostly male dominated, and I felt like one of them just kind of exploded a bomb in the middle of the project in our inner circle.
When we shut down with COVID, I chose not to go into fear.
Somebody I want to give a shout out to, because I'm feeling inspired by you, is Rachel McIntyre.
That's where I'm at. I'm a yogi now.
Yes.
Namaste.
We're talking about a prince who has gone against his family.
Welcome to this week's episode of Girl Time in Reno. I'm Laura, I'm one of your co-hosts here, and today I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Leela, Shonda, Shivani, and Marva Elaine. It's so good to be back. First, I just want to thank my co-hosts for holding down the fort last week when I was out, so thank you, it means so much. And it's great to be back, and I'm so excited that March is International Women's Month. What a great opportunity to celebrate women. Not that we need a month in order to celebrate, but I thought it'd be fun to start this segment talking about all the beautiful things that are worthy of celebrating in women and that, make it important for us to recognize within each other, within ourselves. And so, Marva, what speaks to you about Women's Month and what you like to celebrate during this time?
For me, it's just loving on being who you are. So it's very personal because I am a woman. I love being a woman.
Hey girl,
I love it. Yes, I love it. I love everything about it, from the superficial, from the hair, the nails, the, lips, hips, fingertips, all of that. But I love that we are brilliant. I love that we can give life, and life grows inside of us. We give birth to that life and have what it takes to nurture that and give them what they need to grow. I just think that women are amazing, that we can, the old commercial that says that we can go ahead and fry that bacon and all that good stuff and still let you know that you're a man, but we still go out and make that money too. Like, we are just amazing beings, and to recognize that each woman is amazing and that women need to hear that more. Because we're very hard on ourselves, and so to have a celebration, I think it's long overdue. We should have been celebrating women.
Yes.
It should have been something that we've been doing, not just on Mother's Day, but something that we just did in general. So I'm loving the month and the celebration.
Speaking of past celebrating, so L'Oreal launched their campaign this month for 50 years of the phrase "because you're worth it," which coincided with International Women's History Month. And so it is interesting to realize, wow, they have had that message for 50 years. But to your point, I really feel it's only recently that we're really starting to truly celebrate women in all of their amazingness. Or I don't know, or maybe it's just because of social media, we're more aware of it now, but I just feel like it's much more present.
It's a different age. Like I remember we talked about it before on a different episode, but to raise children now, to have businesses now, to lead like a life of business and home, like it's much different now for women to raise children. It's just so different. And I think that we're empowered women empower women.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I think that message has become so much louder.
I think it's different. I think people thought that we were being celebrated when they put us in the bikinis and the bathing suits and
Sexualizing.
had us post and had us on the billboards, and they're like, yeah, we celebrate women. Right? So to be celebrated, not just because of our bodies, not just because we have breasts and we have a private part, but because we are actually intelligent, that we are educators, politicians, like we've got a vice president that's a female for the first time. Like, this is amazing. Women we're paving the road, and we're letting the world know that we cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
As I looked into the camera and said,
Well, one of the things that I do is, and this is a great topic because I didn't really realize I was doing it until this topic, but I go out of my way to compliment women.
And mean it.
Yeah, I do. Because I'm like Marva, I love being a woman, But I think it's important if you see a woman that's really dressed up, or you can tell that she's taken some care with whether it be her hair, her nails, even the way she holds herself. I think that should be acknowledged by other women. We should say, you look really pretty today. And I do that to strangers. And it's so funny because every single time they're always like, oh, thank you. Because I don't think that they're expecting another woman to give them that kind of praise, you know? But so that's something that I just realized that I like to do, because I think that's important that we acknowledge each other. Even, I mean, not just your appearance. I mean, there has been women that have done things that I've seen on Facebook that I think, wow, I can't believe you're going out of your way to do that. I'll call her. Like, I'll cold call people and just say, hey, this is Shonda Golden. And I just want you to know that I think it's really great what you're doing. Like,
That's really
thank you
awesome.
for doing that.
I think that's impactful.
Yeah, I think we should be complimenting each other.
So give me an example of somebody that you cold called. What did you see on social media and you're like, I need to call this person that I don't know of and tell them?
There was a woman that was doing, well, there was a couple of times. So one woman, I can't think of her name right now, she was a hairdresser and she was doing the sidewalk project downtown over here. And she owns a salon. You know who it is.
There's been a couple of women that I've seen do that program where they'll rally some hairstylists and get them together to go cut hair. For
No, that
homeless
wasn't
people.
that. She was making the sidewalk, or not the sidewalk area, the alleyway safe.
Oh, I
That's
don't know
really
who that
cool.
is.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nellie Davis.
Oh, I love
Nellie.
Nellie. I almost thought, is it Nellie?
Yeah, it's Nellie Davis. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
and-
So you called her up and you said, hey, girl.
And I knew Nellie kind of like very casually, so it wasn't anything that she would be expecting.
I love that. I love that. Somebody I want to give a shout out to, because I'm feeling inspired by you, is Rachel McIntyre. Have you guys seen what she's been doing with the Virgil? And she has a women's network called Wandering Wild or Wild Women.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, Emma,
yes.
my photographer,
Yeah.
Emma, goes to that.
yeah, she recently opened a venue over on Wells. It's that old building that's that church that then was turned into the U.S.
Oh,
Bank building.
yeah.
Well, now she rehabbed it. It's this beautiful event space and also a co-work space when it's not being used for events. And they just held, I think, their first event on March 4th for women. And so I just want to give a shout out to Rachel. Great job. It's really awesome what you're doing for our community here.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Shivani.
Same thing.
Sorry. We look alike. To my left, to my right. So Shivani, what do you love to celebrate about women?
I think that it's almost like the older you get, the more you. For me, I feel like I really like came into who I was as a woman in my 30s, and so I feel like it's, I used to have this mentality of, I'm not a feminist. I don't look at myself as any different than a man. Like, I just think of me going through the world like them going through the world, and I don't think we need extra this or that. And then I have children. Which nothing really makes you understand, like, that you are just a mammal.
Right.
Like having a child. But also makes you realize your power, because, like,
Yes.
it is a huge thing. And so I think that started to help me grow up as a woman, grow into my womanhood. And then at work, it's always been an interesting dynamic, because the beginning half of my career, I only ever really worked with women. So, which I loved.
Because you worked in a salon.
Because I worked in the salon industry. And I really loved it, because I think that, like you said, empowered women can go so far. And like how you compliment women. I think the way that we as women, the things we can do when we come together is really astounding.
Yeah.
So then when I transitioned into a more male-dominated industry, it was an adjustment. But even then, I feel like I haven't had the same go at it that so many women. I haven't had the same challenges, because I came into a male industry, but with my brothers.
Yeah.
So, I work for my two brothers, and I feel like they look out for me. And also, I'm a very direct,
No.
sometimes abrasive. Like, I hold my own.
Yeah.
I think something that is not talked about enough, and I think that's the energy of, people think that women are just, we're light, we're fluffy, and we are pretty, I don't want to say dark energy, but like light and dark energies. Like, we have a very untapped there's no wrath like a woman's or
Yes.
those aspects. But when you bring that into business, that actually can be such a powerful tool because you bring a whole different viewpoint to that. I've actually, similar situation, I know a friend that runs a business like that, and she brings a whole different type of touch to the business now, being involved with her brothers.
And I think it's interesting to understand our dynamics as women as compared to men, and not look at it as pros and cons.
Yeah.
Just understand the dynamics. Like
Yeah.
the more you know about yourself, the more you can harness your own power.
I like that.
That's very true.
Yeah, agreed. I think I've referenced a book called Why She Buys. So there's a book
Why
called
She What?
Why She Buys.
Why she?
B-U-Y-S, Why She
Uh-huh.
Buys. So in it talks about how women really are the driving force of all economics in the U.S. Because we are the decision makers about purchases. Everything from household goods to even those big ticket items that you say, oh, well, my husband's going to choose what car he has. But every woman in a household has veto power. So
Yep.
ultimately, women drive the economy. And in that book, it talks about the differences between men and women, both on a biology aspect of, our brains are different, our access to vocabulary is different, our memory span is different, and then also how we're raised differently and genderized. So it gave an example of, with children, for example, if you see a little boy and he is exhibiting, what you would call bossy type tendencies, you'd be like, oh my gosh, he's such a little leader. And that with girls, we oftentimes when they're young tell them like, hey, you need to be helpful. And if they are, somewhat bossy, we say, hey, don't be bossy, like be helpful, right? But you would never call a little boy bossy ever.
No.
And so it just was really interesting to read about it. And I was thinking about my own experience in business because I've had, similar to Shivani, the experience of working in industries that are very female dominated. I worked for MAC Cosmetics during college. And then I also worked in insurance. I worked as a recruiter for a staffing firm. So I worked in some very corporate structure, like, Fortune 100 companies that were very male driven. And then now owning a salon, I'm again surrounded by females. And I really love doing business with women, I have to say. It's so refreshing. I find that women are more open, and not all, because even in the salon industry, I'm sure, Shivani, you can understand that there's the whole spectrum. But I love that. I think that women are more open to community over competition, right? The idea that a rising tide raises all ships. I recently had a project with, some different people and mostly male dominated, and I felt like one of them just kind of exploded a bomb in the middle of the project in our inner circle, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, no, we need to work together to drive this forward. And so it was just a really interesting experience because for so long, I've been a solopreneur, and I've been in, strictly female dominated industries. And so I had to take a step back and go like, whoa, okay. And I honestly thought of you, Shivani, when you were saying, your 2021 goals of really furthering females in your industry and like setting your goals towards that agenda and being just so passionate about it. And I thought, well, what do I want to stand for and who do I want to do business and what do I want to move forward in? Because I don't, there are just certain aspects of business that I don't like and I don't want to be about, and like time is short, and why do we surround ourselves with certain things? And
Absolutely.
And then when we look at, we are powerful, women give birth to so much, not just life, but women can give birth in business too. And there's some really interesting statistics. For example, in startups. So I recently was, involved in the startup project, and a statistic was shared with me that if there is a female co-founder in a startup, it's 84% more likely to succeed.
I'll be damned.
84%. And I thought that is such a crazy statistic, right?
I believe it. That's how extraordinary we are, though. And that's the power of, getting the right woman behind you. Oh my gosh. We are just amazing. We're going to push that thing through. We put our souls into it. It's not just, women, we usually don't just typically do stuff surface. Like if we're behind you, we are behind you.
Yeah.
And we're going to put everything out there.
Yeah. Well, what a fun topic. Thank you so much for talking about this for our first segment back. Thank you for watching Girl Time in Reno. We will return shortly with our second segment. Welcome back to our second segment of this week's episode, Girl Time in Reno. I am Laura, your co-host. I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Leela, Shonda, Shivani, and Marva Elaine. For this second segment of this week's episode, I thought it would be fun for us to dive a little bit deeper into my fellow co-hosts. So a lot of the feedback that we've gotten over the weeks is that people want to get to know us more, which is kind of fun. And, you know, we really enjoy talking about different topics that are relevant to current times or to our community, but our audience is dying to get an inner glimpse into each of you. So we thought it'd be fun just to kind of give a couple minutes to each co-host and tell us what's going on with you. So I wanted to start with Marva Elaine because I have to give a little shout out to her. She gave me this gorgeous gift of this necklace from her business, and I really enjoyed wearing it today. I feel, you know, just extra beautiful. So thank you for that, Marva, and tell us what's going on with you.
I have so much going on right now in a growing industry, growing business, but my heart is always encouraging people, uplifting, motivating, inspiring. So with the prayer that we're doing every morning, that's growing and people are feeling empowered, encouraged to go out and do something. So in business, really, we're growing. We're in the top 5%, the top 0.1% in the company, 5% in growth. And it's happening because we're empowering. We're encouraging, we're uplifting, we are just making sure people know that they're valuable, right?
No, that's special because during this time and this, you know, not only the pandemic, but what's going on with our economy and politics and so many different things, the fact that you are growing your business, not only doubling it, but tripling it, that's huge.
Big investment in people. It's really investing in people, and I just launched a training to train others in network marketing. And so network marketing is what I do. I'm an independent consultant for paparazzi, and so that's empowering people that may not have the startup for their own business, but want to grow an income, want to work from home, and it's teaching the values of that and how they can do that with little bit of money. That is important because so many people want a different life, but they don't know the choices and that there are other ways that you can create that without having to have all the capital. Like waiting on your dream, like, well, I can't do it because I don't have the money. I can't do it because I don't have the people or things in places. But there's other things you can do. So empowerment, encouragement.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see your training. Is it going to be available online, or how are you going to get it out to people?
It is going to be available online, and we are probably going to launch it on next month. So we're excited. It's going to be online, so you'll see commercials about it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so Shivani, tell us a little bit what's going on with you.
So I work in mortgage lending, and I love, like, my mission is that I want to help people use real estate to build wealth, because I feel like it's the one thing that you don't need a college degree, you don't need a 6-figure income. You don't need to be anyone special to use real estate to start establishing financial security. But in 2021, I really want to help. I want to like zero in on women, because I think a lot of women maybe don't feel comfortable with finances, or maybe don't have enough financial education or financial literacy. I mean, if we're being honest, financial literacy is lacking in America on the whole, regardless of your gender. But I really want to help women own it and know their power and know how to make better choices financially. When I meet with couples or when I meet with families and it comes to like multi-generational wealth, a lot of times I feel like women don't think they have a seat at the table in the conversation, or maybe they're more giving with their income than their spouses, or they feel less empowered. Like, I can't do that. I wouldn't even try. And I want to change that, because I think that in a household where both partners, whether it's 2 females, 2 men, a woman and a man, in a household when more people have financial knowledge and more people are actively pursuing financial success, aren't the odds better for the entire household, for their children, for their children's children, if everybody can put their best foot forward? when
Yeah.
it comes to finances.
Wonderful.
But I need help. I need to know, like, how do I get that message out to people? Should I do an online class? Like, I would love feedback from the viewers, from everyone. Like, what is
love
the
that.
best way to spread this message?
I think you're doing such a great job because you're in an industry that there's so much stigma around,
Yeah.
right? Getting a mortgage and how
People don't wanna
scary
talk
it
about
is,
money.
right? They don't want to talk about money. They don't want to talk about credit. They don't want to talk about down payment. They don't want to talk about, understanding interest. I mean, there's so many unknowns or scary like stigmas to it. So I love it. I'm excited to hear what the viewers say. My mind goes to I've been saying for years that in the colleges and of course the high schools, but specifically colleges, I feel like that age when you're about to graduate, you're about to get married, you're in the house buying years, you're in going and doing your career. So I've always thought, whether it's sororities or the student union or whatever it is, but having someone like you go talk to them about what the process is to buy a house and that it is an option, and why would you continue to spend your money on rent when you could be building equity for yourself. I think these are things that 22-year-olds aren't thinking about.
And if we could destigmatize talking about it by doing things like that, then, it would be better. If you talked about it with friends, if you talked about it with your family, if you talked about it more, you could learn more.
Yes. So awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on the show with us and continue to have you spread your amazing knowledge about finances and wealth building with our viewers over time, because I think that there's some good nuggets we can glean from you, and we're excited to be on your journey with you for 2021, supporting fellow women. So
Thank you.
yes. So, Supreme Shonda. Miss Shonda,
Diva Supreme.
Diva Supreme, tell us.
So, what have I been up to? To be real personal, I've begun. When we shut down with COVID, I chose not to go into fear. I was like, no, this is not going to take me out. So I was really on a quest to get really close to God and to really heal, because fear is where the devil says, oh, look at their fear. And that gives really easy access to all the chaos that can happen. And so recently I've discovered yoga, and it's been a game changer. I practice yoga 4 days a week in the morning at Juice Box Yoga in Sparks, and I love it. It has completely balanced me out by cutting out the sugar. I've adopted a Whole30 lifestyle. So I'm eating right. I drink a gallon of water a day. And now with the yoga, along with lifting weights, my whole life, just everything about me, I'm calmer and I'm sweeter, I think, and it's just really changed who I am. I'm a survivor of abuse, and I've been open about that. But I don't have to go look down that alley anymore. That's behind me. But the body remembers. There's a book called The Body Remembers.
Yes.
And so with yoga, by practicing yoga, I've really come to a place with my body. I don't fear my body as much anymore. I don't look at my body as something that can get me in trouble. You know what I mean? All that stuff that comes with being victimized. So for me, I can't stop talking about yoga. And I'm so shocked that I love it, right? But it's been wonderful. So that's where I'm at. I'm a yogi now.
Yes,
Namaste.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, namaste.
So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's just changed my life in the most positive way.
Yeah.
And God led me to the yoga studio.
Yeah. Well,
It's
and you're
just
a really dynamic woman with really deep, different parts of you. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on the show and, just hear your different perspectives. And I hope that as we continue along, we'll get to hear a little bit more inside of that journey for you and get to know a little bit, not about your past as it defines you, but just your lessons from it. And
Yeah,
where
I'm
you're
an
going.
open book.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sitting here on a couch with cameras, right?
Yeah.
I admire that vulnerability.
Yes.
Thank you.
So speaking of vulnerability, next we go to our amazing queen, Leela. Thank you for being on the show with us. You come from a really fun industry that I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about, and you've been really vocal about sharing about your own health journey. So there are so many different facets to you. So tell our viewers today what's going on with you.
So what's going on with me? Honestly, right now, I throughout the script for 2021, I made some very big plunges in my career. So I'm actually in the middle of my own startup.
Good for you.
So I have my hands in a lot of different things, but so I took the plunge for that this year. It has come with a lot of loops and turns, but I'm really excited.
When you say startup, are you able to share with our viewers what that is? Is it a certain industry?
So it is in the cannabis industry, and it is medical focused. It is medicinal cannabis focused.
Wonderful.
And it is geared, a lot of my advocating has been for the industry, and I kind of, in my career, lost myself actually in some of that. And right now I'm getting back to exactly why I got into this industry. Mm-hmm. And that's what my startup is focused around. Is I can't really touch on too much of it, but it's focused on the patient, and
Good
it's
for
about
you.
advocating for patients the way it
Good
needs to
for
be.
you. Because can I tell you something? I believe in medicinal marijuana.
100%.
I believe in it. I had a friend, Robin Pedrosa, who I named my youngest daughter, Kalakaini'i, in honor of her. And she passed away, she's 21, she passed away 21 years ago. And she moved from Kona, she got cancer, and she smoked a lot of marijuana because it helped her heal. And then she moved from Kona, her parents moved her to Texas so that they could get the best oncologist with her, but she still smoked marijuana. And it helped her with the pain, and I was on board with it from the beginning.
It's
totally 100% with it.
It's tenfold changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going through actually some hard changes because what my degree is for and what I thought I would be doing in my life is completely different.
What's your degree?
I have a degree in biology, and I was in the middle of pursuing my nursing license when I first was diagnosed with lupus. I was in the middle of my clinicals. So I was on the fence about going back, sitting down for my license, doing all these things, and my passion is still in adding value to people's lives and helping them heal. And that's what's going behind my startup. Is I really, really want to help people not go through the darkness that I went through when I was getting diagnosed with lupus, and I lost my life for almost 2.5 years, where I just myself. So a lot of what I've been going through is focusing on me, my dreams, and not telling myself no anymore. Do not be a quitter. That's what I'm working on.
Good for you.
Well, thank you so much, Leela, for sharing. It was really exciting to hear what you're up to, because I feel like you shared so many little interesting parts about yourself that I'm really excited that as the weeks go on, we can get to know you a little bit more and hear more about your journey.
I'm definitely be leaning on my team of empowered women. Thank you. What about you, Laura? Tell us what's going on with you.
Yeah.
That is a great question. So I really enjoyed being a part of this show. It's been an interesting time for me. So 2020 was a really hard year and a good year at the same time. So we saw, of course, the closures, everything that happened with COVID. So I'm a makeup artist. I own a salon. I own a bridal team. Our business was growing every year. It was, doing great. The wedding industry is such a fun industry to be a part of. And for example, in 2020, we had over 100 weddings booked.
Wow.
And yeah, we were just growing. We had over 20 artists on our on location team. And so when the closures happened, I felt like I was in the two worst industries, the salon industry and the bridal industry. So, but at the same time, I felt so covered, for me it was spiritual, but I just felt like, God's provision was everywhere for me, and, or you could call it the universe. But I felt at peace, but it was a hard year. So I had a business partner who's a dear friend of mine in the salon, and we parted ways at the beginning of 2020, and we're still friends, and she's still in the salon, and it's wonderful. But you know, that was interesting to navigate that. And then with the closures, there was, you know, all of this unknown, but then this beautiful gift came out of 2021 or 2020 because I was able to kind of lean into some more trainings that I probably would have never made time for. And I know I've referenced them on the show, but those emotional intelligence trainings that I went to Vegas for. And it really just taught me a whole new perspective of looking not only at life, but also myself. And I was able to kind of address things that I didn't realize were laying there. And really the greatest gift was getting closer to my husband. So now, you know, I've been married for 11 years, and I feel like our relationship is better than ever and like totally unexpected. Wow. So it's huge. And so I'm really enjoying it. And so now with 2021, I'll just close the segment with this. There's this quote that says, you know, the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. So for me, it's like, nope, I'm not going to allow the world to define me. I'm so multifaceted. You know, I'm like this makeup artist and this businesswoman and this mom, and I'm in, you know, the salon industry, but I also am very tech forward. I have all these, you know, aspects of me and all these opportunities I'm pursuing. And at the same time, it's like I'm really working on not being defined by them, and instead deciding who am I and who am I presenting to the world. So if you're watching this and you know me, you probably have seen that I've been really silent on social media yet. I've been kind of working out like, who am I and what's all of that about? And I've even been doing the show, and I'm so bad about posting it. I need to post it more. Sorry, Ash. And but that's where I've been. I've just kind of been internally dialoguing, like, okay, like who am I? What do I want to say about myself? Where am I going? And does this even fucking matter? Right?
Right.
Like, does any of this matter? So that's what I've been up to. But thank you for asking. Yeah.
No, same journey.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching our second segment of this week's Girl Time in Reno. I hope you enjoyed the inside scoop in everyone's lives, and we'll be back with our third segment shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us for our third segment of this week's episode, Girl Time in Reno. I want to take a quick moment and acknowledge the gorgeous flowers in the room. Thank you so much, Chrissy Perry and Quality Event and Design, for supplying us with these gorgeous flowers every single week. They really do brighten our day. And I couldn't help but notice how gorgeous and garden-like they are. They're so beautiful, which makes me think of, you know, I'm going to bring it up, the royal interview that has been aired. Have any of you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I saw just bits of it.
Yeah, so Meghan and Harry were interviewed by Oprah. I've been trying to figure out where I can watch it. I haven't seen it yet, but I had to bring it up because I wanted to see if any of you guys have watched it and what your thoughts are.
Well, I watched snippets of it.
Yes.
And, you know, to be honest, I was totally offended by it.
What?
Because I just felt like, so here are two people that are completely, they have so much money, right? He's from the royal family. She's married into the royal family. They were in front of one of the most powerful women in the world, Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of eyeballs on that interview. She's also from LA. I felt, right, like Luke 12:48, for much that is given, much is to be expected. these are privileged people, these two, right? They could have taken that moment to really talk about what mattered, especially in Los Angeles, where she's from. The school closures, things like that. But it was like, oh, Kate made me cry over a dress. Over a dress. This is what you're saying.
Okay, I need to watch this.
This is the most horrific thing to you that's going on right now. And I just felt like, you know, I don't know if someone said that about her son. You know, that would be horrible if it happened. But
what did they say about her son?
that the son, what was it?
So there was
Because you watched it,
there
right?
was a discussion. There was some discussion in regards to race, and some of the so this is
But they won't, there was a discussion about race, but they won't say who said it.
yes, exactly. So they won't say who said it, and basically what it was is there's a difference between racism and being rude. And the royal family essentially said, "Oh well, there's always
Allegedly.
allegedly, there's always going to be rude things." I'm paraphrasing, but basically, there's going to be rude things that people say. And
Okay.
it was a race. It was
Something about there was questioning the color of the son,
babies.
the baby's skin.
yes.
So, I mean, we don't know if that was said. And if it was said, it's a horrible thing to be said. I don't know why someone would say that. It would be so obvious that the baby would come out Caucasian.
Without watching it, that's such a random thing to
Well,
bring
that-
up without giving any proof of. Like, that just seems like
that's
it's
exact-
a Hollywood, like, attention getter type of
Yeah, and
statement,
they
right?
like, the Hollywood people like
I
it.
don't think this is an attention getter. I think it's to protect the royal family, but to say what happened. So everybody's at stake here, and that's what we have to realize. We're talking about a prince who has gone against his family. And if you know anything about just being a family in power, when you do that, that is a big statement that you are making. And for him to protect his wife, I think that is just it's an honorable thing that he did with choosing to do what's better for his wife and child. As far as the royal family, it's like being torn, and we kind of talked about this as being a wife. You never want to pit your husband against his mother. It's a very crucial thing. So she's not trying to destroy the royal family, but then hear her side before you think she is the destruction of the royal family.
And think about also what she has been subjected to. You cannot tell me that, especially as a woman coming from America, but also as a woman of color,
Right.
coming into a dynamic of a privileged family. I mean, they threw out the script on that one, and she has to set a different course for her children.
What kind of things was she subjected to? I haven't seen the.
Just, as a woman of color going into a royal family, have you seen a woman of color in England
That's what was
at
so
the top
groundbreaking. In England, they embraced her. They went crazy for her. I was crazy for her because she was from California. I was like, oh my God, a California girl! You know, so I mean, I personally felt with COVID, here's two people that have a lot of attention on them. The focus should have been more on helping everyone. I just kind of felt, and I understand, I think Marvin made a great point. He should protect his wife. And there's a lot of layers to it. But for me, these are very privileged people with a lot of money, and we in Reno see people that have lost everything now. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me,
Shonda is the kumbaya. Okay. So let's give the world what they want. They don't want to hear about the COVID and the,
I was gonna say, I don't think Oprah would have interviewed them if they had talked, like, just been talking about that, right? Which she interviewed them for that specific topic.
Yeah.
that's probably why I didn't watch it, right? Because I guess because I grew up very poor, I'm sensitive to that. And when I see people that are poor, I guess I get triggered by it. I just felt like, wow, you guys are in front of Oprah. You know, but you're right. I mean, that's Hollywood. No one
That's
cares.
awesome. Thanks for owning that.
But I do think you're right though, because
Yeah,
people,
that's
you know, I look at it as I'm a woman of privilege. I think about, I recently, especially after Marva Aline over here, really I did some internal thinking about what you said, and honestly, it instituted a lot of the projects I'm about to do as far as cannabis and Black communities. But if you think about some of those things, I mean, we have to navigate things a lot differently. And I think that as a privileged person, I am privileged now. I grew up very poor, but now I worked, and me and my sisters are ending generational poverty. But as a woman of privilege, I have to look and see who I can help. What you said, what is it? The rising tide raises all ships.
For much that is given, much is expected.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have to go collect tampons. I could go shopping all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that might be a weird explanation, but I do that because I've been given so much. So it's expected of me to give back.
So you're like, this is rich people problems.
I think it's generally problems. I do appreciate what you said, that, you know, he was having to protect his wife. But again, I just felt like if you've got that national stage.
Can I ask you, Marva, what did it symbolize for you? So for you, Shonda, it's like rich people problems. And
Or they
for you-
wasted a moment.
For you,
I think they wasted a moment. Thank you, Shivani. They wasted a moment.
For me, the takeaway, so I watched The View. And they streamed the highlights, and the highlights were basically, you know, the comments that were just made about the baby maybe in a color, you know, being more of a darker, you know, skin tone, and what were they going to do about that? And it's not a guarantee. That's the crazy thing about the black race, the African American race, is that you can have two, you know, very fair-skinned people and come out with a brown baby because it's in your bloodline. Mm-hmm. Her mother is a brown-skinned woman, and that baby could come out very brown-skinned, taking off after her mother, right? Mm-hmm. So they had concerns, I guess, about the color, and so I just don't believe that they were ready for it.
Yes.
And some of it is just pure ignorance. And you know, when you haven't dealt with it, when you haven't been face to face with racism, or not even racism, you just haven't dealt with any black people like that. You just haven't. So then there are going to be comments that you make that you don't understand. And I'm not trying to give some of the comments excuses, but there's just going to be some ignorance that you don't understand. But after being made aware, if those conversations don't change, if that language doesn't change, then there comes a problem. Yeah. And I believe the scrutiny that she received as an African American woman was just, it was too harsh, that she couldn't handle it. She just couldn't. And I believe because, and Leela, don't have to bring me out on this because I'm going to make a very racial statement. I believe that because she is so fair-skinned, she hasn't really dealt with the racism that brown skin, darker skin have dealt with, and it hit her in the face. Because for one time, like you were saying, you've been privileged, you have the lighter skinned, so that means you can walk in arenas and they not really bother you because you're so fair skinned. But guess what? You got money, and your money doesn't count here. Mm-hmm. So they're dealing with her really after what she would get away from in our society. She didn't get away. She got hit with it right in the face, and she didn't have the opportunity to have the cameras off to deal with it. She had to deal with it in public. And I just hate to say it, Megan just was not ready for what she got.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it was a brown-skinned woman, help me out, Lila. If it was a brown-skinned woman, she would have been a little tougher.
Look, okay, one example, Michelle Obama. When they first started getting into politics, Michelle does not like politics. If you read her book and you watch her documentary, she is an off the cusp, and she gives it like it is, like real talk. They weren't ready for that, and they actually had to tailor, like she discusses this, how she was tailored for his election and had to become this different person, but she didn't let it. She stood firm.
I was gonna say she's a great politician.
No, well, she is, but she doesn't do politics. That's what she just does. It doesn't get the work done that she believes in. But you're right.
So you bring up something interesting, because I haven't watched the interview. Now I have to go. If you haven't watched it, I'm sure you have to go watch
the
it too.
views portion.
But no, that's filtered content. I want to see the whole thing in its entirety.
Right.
Their
Yes,
views
you should watch the
so
whole thing.
I encourage you to watch the whole thing now too,
I definitely
right?
will.
But the biggest thing that I was reading in comments and as people were talking about it was more about the mental health aspect and about how
Yeah, because
beautiful
she
it
said that
was.
she wanted to kill herself.
Well, and how beautiful it was that she was being brave and talking about it. And so, Shivani, I just, knowing that you come from a family that's in, the mental health industry, and then you yourself, you're now going back to school for that. Did you have any thoughts about that?
I saw something circulating after, because there was a lot of different viewpoints and people saying, did they rise to the occasion, or are they complaining, or is this real worth our time to be talking about? And someone said, Meghan Markle's probably not going to hear your comments and opinions on her feeling suicidal, but your friends and family that have felt suicidal will see it and will decide whether or not you're the person they're going to come talk to about that. And I think when it comes to mental health, it's not anyone's job to decide how you should feel. It's not anyone's opinion or role to say what the impact of something should be on you. And that's the same thing with racism and people of color and all the different shades of our skin. It's not my job to decide how racism or someone's opinion or someone's comments about color and the color of your skin should affect you. It's not my place to decide what impact that should have and how you should respond. All we should think about as a society and as, decent human beings is, what can I do to help this situation? What could I do to help you? What could I do to show up for my friends?
I really admire, though, that she did discuss mental health, because especially as among women in general, it's hard for us to admit sometimes when we're struggling in an area, and to actually bring that she humanized these people are humans still, and it kind of rehumanized, I think, people a little bit and showed us that.
And imagine the cameras on you.
Right.
And the world, this is not a private discussion, and all of us have been or have things in our life that we're like, we would hate to get out, and we are just in our community. But what if we were world renowned? And the kind of stuff that we want to hold private is put out there for, it would make somebody want to go jump off a bridge, just think about it. So I really, like you said, taking in their thought that, okay, this was too much for her and that's how she felt. And it's just, that's her reality, and that's what we have to go on.
Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing your really wonderful and strong opinions about this topic. And I think that it does sound very layered, and now I'm going to go watch that episode. So if you're watching this, I encourage you to check it out too, and then share your comments with us. We look forward to being back next week for Girl Time in Reno. So join back up. Make sure to follow if you aren't following yet. Share, like, hashtag, do all the good stuff, and we will see you next week on Girl Time in Reno.